Have you ever paused in the stillness of a quiet night and felt the weight of unseen battles pressing against your soul? The kind of battles that whisper doubts into your mind, casting shadows over your brightest hopes. In the intricate tapestry of life, every thread seems deliberate, woven with purpose and precision. Yet amid this divine design, we find ourselves grappling with forces that seem bent on unraveling our faith, our dreams, and our sense of self. Who are these forces? And why does it feel as if the trials that come our way are more than mere coincidence? It is no accident that you face opposition. The road you walk, the path toward light and truth, is bound to disturb those who dwell in shadows. Yet here lies the great paradox. While we may not always see the faces of those who conspire against us, God does. He knows every whisper spoken in dark corners, every plot devised in secret, and every heart that harbors ill will against his chosen ones. This knowledge is not meant to burden you, but to free you, to remind you that the unseen eyes of heaven are always watching, and the hands of divine justice are never idle. Consider this: why does it feel as though the storms rage hardest when you are closest to the shore? Why do the waves of adversity seem to rise with greater fury when your spirit stands firm in faith? It is because opposition is not an indication of your weakness, but a testament to the strength of your purpose. The enemy does not attack or does not threaten him, and while the world may try to convince you that the trials you face are a sign of failure, the truth is that they are often evidence of God's favor, for it is in the furnace of adversity that the purest gold is refined. But how do you stay strong when it feels as though the weight of the world is on your shoulders? How do you hold fast to faith when every step forward is met with resistance? The answer lies in trust, not blind, passive trust, but a trust born of deep conviction and unshakable confidence in God's sovereignty. Trust that He is not only aware of the battles you face, but is actively working behind the scenes to turn every weapon formed against you into a tool for your victory. Trust that the very opposition meant to break you is the instrument He uses to build you. There is a profound mystery in how God works through opposition. We often cry out, asking why He allows certain struggles, why He permits the presence of adversaries in our lives. Yet if we could see through His eyes, we would understand that even the enemy is a pawn in the grander scheme of His plan. Just as the betrayal of Joseph by his brothers led to the saving of nations, so too does God use the actions of those against you to propel you toward your destiny. What man intends for evil, God repurposes for good. And so I ask you, do you trust Him enough to let go of your fear? Can you find the courage to stop questioning His plan and start resting in His promise? The psalmist wrote, "The Lord is my light and my salvation, whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life, of whom shall I be afraid?" This is not just poetry, it is a declaration of truth. If God is for you, who can be against you? Who can thwart the plans of the Almighty or stand in the way of His purpose? Take a moment to reflect. Are you focusing more on the size of your opposition than the magnitude of your God? Have you allowed the voices of doubt and fear to drown out the still, small voice that whispers, "Be still and know that I am God"? The enemy's greatest weapon is not the strength of his attack, but the subtlety of his lies. Lies that tell you that you are alone, that you are defeated, that your struggles are in vain. But here is the truth: you are never alone, you are never defeated, and every struggle is a stepping stone toward the fulfillment of God's promise in your life. The road ahead may not be easy, but it is worth every step. Your faith, your trust, and your unwavering resolve are the keys to unlocking the victories that God has already prepared for you. He sees the end from the beginning, and in His infinite wisdom, He has orchestrated every detail of your journey, even the opposition. So stand firm. Stay strong. Trust Him, for He knows who is against you, and He will never allow their plans to prevail. There is a divine principle that runs through the fabric of our lives. Nothing remains hidden forever. When God is on your side, He ensures that those who conspire against you are eventually unmasked. The whispers in secret, the plans in darkness, and the intentions buried beneath false smiles, none of it escapes His notice. His eyes see all, and in His perfect timing, He reveals the truth. It's a profound reminder that the God who created the universe is also deeply invested in protecting you, his child, from harm. You might wonder why this revelation doesn't always come immediately. Why does God allow people with harmful intentions to remain close, even for a time? The answer lies in his infinite wisdom. God often permits these situations to refine us, to teach us discernment, and to strengthen our reliance on him. When the time is right, he doesn't merely expose these enemies to you, he exposes them for what they are, so that others may also see the truth. It is not just a revelation, it is a vindication, a declaration that his hand has been guiding you all along. Take comfort in this. When your enemies are hidden, God is still working. He orchestrates circumstances that bring their true nature to light. Have you ever experienced a moment when someone's mask slipped and their real intentions became clear? It may have been through an unexpected conversation, a sudden shift in behavior, or even a subtle feeling in your spirit that you couldn't ignore. These moments are not mere coincidences, they are orchestrated by God. He aligns events in such a way that the truth becomes undeniable, even if it initially feels painful. Now think of the story of Judas in the life of Jesus. For years, Judas walked among the disciples, sharing meals and moments of intimacy with the Lord. Yet Jesus, in his divine knowledge, was fully aware of Judas's eventual betrayal. Why didn't he cast Judas away earlier? Because even Judas's betrayal served a higher purpose in God's plan. In the same way, the presence of hidden enemies in our lives may seem perplexing, but their exposure and eventual actions are part of a greater narrative written by God himself. God's revelation of hidden enemies is often accompanied by a still, small voice, a nudge in your spirit that tells you something isn't right. Pay attention to this inner warning, for it is one of the ways he communicates with his people. When you sense unease or notice patterns of behavior that don't align with trust, take it as an invitation to seek his guidance. God desires to protect you, and he equips you with the tools to recognize those who mean you harm. There is another layer to this truth. God not only reveals who your enemies are, but he also equips you with the strength to deal with the revelation. When the truth comes to light, it may feel like betrayal or heartbreak, but it is also liberation. It frees you from the chains of deception and allows you to walk forward with clarity. Trust that God does not reveal hidden enemies to destroy you, but to protect you and set you on a path toward greater blessings. Reflect on the times when someone you trusted turned out to be working against you. Was there a moment when God gave you a sign, a small hint of their true nature? Perhaps it came as a random piece of information that found its way to you, or maybe it was a situation that revealed their intentions unmistakably. These are not accidents, they are divine interventions. God does not leave his children in the dark, especially when their well-being is at stake. Even in the Bible, God reveals enemies in unexpected ways. When Elisha was surrounded by the army of Aram, his servant feared for their lives. Yet Elisha prayed, and God opened the servant's eyes to see the heavenly armies surrounding them. This revelation not only exposed the enemy, but also reassured Elisha's servant that God's protection far outweighed the threat. In the same way, God reveals hidden enemies in your life to remind you that his presence is far greater than any opposition you may face. So I ask you, have you ever experienced a moment when God revealed someone's true intentions toward you? If so, how did it shape your trust in him? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story could be the encouragement someone else needs. This reflection on God's revelation is not meant to stir fear, but to inspire faith. The knowledge that God sees all and acts in his perfect timing should strengthen your confidence in him. Even when you cannot see the full picture, he is working to protect and guide you. God's protection is not always visible, yet it is constant and unyielding. There are countless moments in your life where danger loomed closer than you could imagine, but God intervened, shielding you from harm. You may not have seen the hand that diverted the path of trouble, but it was there, steady and unwavering. His protection is not just a promise, it is an active reality for those who trust him. Even when the storms rage and the shadows grow darker, his presence surrounds you like a fortress. Consider the times when things didn't go as planned, and at first it felt like a setback. Yet in hindsight you realized it was God's way of redirecting you, keeping you from harm you could not foresee. Perhaps you missed a flight or were delayed on the road, only to discover later that it was for your safety. These are not random occurrences, they are divine interruptions. God steps into the flow of time and orchestrates events to ensure your protection, even when you don't understand his reasons in the moment. The Bible is rich with examples of God's protective power. Think of the Israelites pursued by Pharaoh's army, standing helpless before the Red Sea. It seemed there was no escape, but God intervened, parting the waters and creating a path of safety. What appeared to be an impossible situation became a testimony of his unmatched power. He not only delivered his people, but also destroyed the forces that sought to harm them. This story is a reminder that God's protection often comes when we feel most vulnerable and exposed. God's protection is not limited to physical safety, it also extends to the unseen battles we face. There are spiritual forces at work that aim to undermine your faith and derail your purpose. Yet God places a hedge of protection around his children, guarding their hearts and minds from the lies and schemes of the enemy. When you feel an unexplainable peace in the midst of chaos, it is a sign that his protective presence is with you. His peace acts as a shield, deflecting the arrows of doubt and fear. Sometimes God's protection means allowing you to walk through difficulties but keeping you safe within them. Think of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who were thrown into the fiery furnace for refusing to bow to an idol. They were not spared from entering the fire, but God was with them in the flames. Not a single hair on their heads was burned, and they emerged unscathed, a testament to his power and faithfulness. In the same way, you may face trials that seem overwhelming, but God's protection ensures that you will not be consumed by them. There are moments when you may feel exposed, as if the forces against you are too strong to withstand. Yet God promises that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. This is not a vague assurance, it is a declaration of his sovereignty. While weapons may be formed, they will not succeed. God's protection doesn't mean the absence of conflict, it means the assurance of victory. The battles you face are not yours to fight alone. He goes before you, making a way where there seems to be none. Have you ever felt a sudden sense of unease, as though something wasn't right? That inner prompting to change course, to avoid a certain situation or person, is often God's protective guidance. He speaks to his children through subtle nudges, guiding them away from harm. Trusting these prompts, even when they defy logic, is an act of faith. God's wisdom far exceeds our understanding, and his protection often involves leading us along paths we might not have chosen for ourselves. God's protection is also evident in his provision. He provides the resources, relationships, and opportunities you need to navigate life's challenges. When the odds are stacked against you, he opens doors that no one can shut and shuts doors that no one can open. Every blessing, every moment of favor is a shield against the hardships that could have overtaken you. His provision is a daily reminder of his care and commitment to your well-being. When you trust in God's protection, fear begins to lose its grip. You no longer feel the need to control every outcome or anticipate every danger, because you know that he is in control. This trust allows you to live with courage and confidence, knowing that the one who watches over you neither slumbers nor sleeps. His protection is not something you earn, it is a gift of grace, a manifestation of his love for you. In every season of life, whether in moments of triumph or trial, God's protection is your constant companion. It is a shield that guards you from harm, a fortress that keeps you safe, and a testimony to his unfailing faithfulness. You may not always see the dangers he has averted or the battles he has fought on your behalf, but rest assured, his protection is as real as his presence. When a door closes in your life, it often feels like rejection, disappointment, or even failure. But in the grand design of God's plan, a closed door is not an end, it is a redirection. It is his way of shielding you from harm or leading you towards something far greater than you could imagine. The doors that shut in your face, the opportunities that slip through your fingers, and the relationships that come to an abrupt halt, they are not the absence of God's care, but the evidence of His divine intervention. God's wisdom far surpasses our understanding. He sees the dangers that lie behind the doors we are so desperate to walk through. He knows what we cannot see: the pitfalls, the heartbreak, the harm that would come if we pursued the paths we think are best for us. A closed door is often a silent act of mercy. It spares us from the pain and destruction that could follow if we insisted on having our way. In His infinite love, God intervenes, shutting the door and gently guiding us in another direction. Throughout Scripture, there are countless examples of God closing doors for the benefit of His people. Consider the story of Paul in the book of Acts. When Paul and his companions tried to enter Bithynia, the Spirit of Jesus did not allow them. At the time, this closed door must have been confusing, even frustrating. But it was this very redirection that led Paul to Macedonia, where countless lives were transformed by the gospel. In the same way, God's closed doors in your life are not rejections, but reroutings to places and purposes that are far greater than you could envision. Sometimes the doors God closes are tied to relationships. Have you ever experienced the loss of a connection you thought was essential to your life? Perhaps it was a friendship that ended unexpectedly, or a relationship that didn't work out despite your best efforts. These moments can be deeply painful, but they are also moments of divine protection. God removes people from your life not to leave you alone, but to make space for those who will nurture your faith, support your growth, and walk with you toward the destiny He has prepared. A closed door is often a test of trust. Do you believe that God's plans for you are good, even when they don't align with your own? It is easy to trust Him when everything goes according to your desires, but true faith is demonstrated when you can thank Him for the doors He closes, knowing that His ways are higher than your ways. Trusting God in these moments requires surrender, letting go of your plans and embracing His, even when the path ahead is uncertain. Consider this. If every door you wanted to walk through had opened, where would you be now? Would you be closer to God's purpose for your life, or would you be wandering in a wilderness of your own making? The truth is, not every opportunity is meant for you, and not every open door leads to blessings. God, in His infinite wisdom, filters the opportunities in your life, ensuring that you only walk through the doors that align with His plan for you. The closed doors are as much a part of His guidance as the open ones. There is a profound sense of peace that comes with trusting God's timing and His decisions. When you accept that closed doors are a form of His protection, you begin to see them not as losses but as blessings in disguise. The disappointment fades and gratitude takes its place. You realize that every door that closes is leading you one step closer to the fulfillment of God's promises for your life. The pain of rejection gives way to the joy of knowing that His plans for you are good, perfect, and pleasing. Sometimes, a closed door is God's way of teaching you patience and perseverance. It forces you to pause, to reflect, and to seek Him more deeply. In these moments of waiting, your faith is strengthened, and your relationship with God grows richer. He uses the closed doors to prepare you for the blessings that lie ahead. The waiting season is not wasted, it is a season of refining, of molding you into the person you need to be to step into the opportunities He has prepared for you. There is a deep comfort in knowing that God's hand is in every detail of your life. The doors that close are not random, they are deliberate acts of a loving Father who wants the best for His children. When you encounter a closed door, remember that God is still in control. He is working all things together for your good, even when you can't see it. Trust Him, for His plans for you are far greater than anything you could imagine. Every closed door is an opportunity to grow in faith, to deepen your trust in God, and to move closer to His purpose for your life. When you embrace this truth, you begin to see closed doors not as setbacks but as stepping stones to something greater. God's protection is woven into every aspect of your journey, and the doors he closes are as much a part of his love as the doors he opens. In the midst of chaos, when the world around you feels as though it is unraveling, there exists a peace that surpasses all understanding. This peace is not born of circumstances, nor is it tied to the fleeting comforts of this life. It is a divine gift, a tangible reminder of God's presence and His unwavering control over every aspect of your life. When everything seems to be falling apart, and you should, by all logic, feel overwhelmed, this peace wraps itself around your heart and mind, shielding you from despair. This peace is not the absence of problems, but the presence of God. It is a supernatural calm that anchors your soul, even as the winds of adversity howl around you. The world cannot give this peace, nor can it take it away. It is a promise from God Himself, a manifestation of His Spirit dwelling within you. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Philippians 4:7. This is not merely poetic language, it is a profound truth that has sustained countless believers through the darkest of trials. When you trust God, even in the face of turmoil, His peace becomes a fortress. It guards your heart against fear and your mind against anxiety. This peace does not come from denying the reality of your struggles, but from acknowledging that God is greater than them. It is the assurance that no matter how chaotic life may appear, God remains sovereign, and His plans for you are unshakable. His peace allows you to look at the storm and declare, "It is well with my soul." Consider the story of Jesus and His disciples crossing the Sea of Galilee. As a furious storm threatened to capsize their boat, the disciples were consumed by fear. Yet Jesus slept peacefully in the stern, undisturbed by the raging waters. When the disciples woke Him, panicked and desperate, He rebuked the wind and the waves, and there was complete calm. This account is not just a demonstration of Jesus' power over nature, it is a reminder of the peace that comes from trusting in His authority. The same Jesus who calmed the storm then is with you now, ready to bring calm to the storms in your life. This peace often comes in moments when it makes the least sense. When others might crumble under the weight of grief, uncertainty, or hardship, you find yourself standing firm, held together by an invisible strength. It is a testimony not of your resilience, but of God's faithfulness. His peace is not something you muster up, it is something He bestows. It is a gift, freely given to those who place their trust in Him. Have you ever wondered why some people seem unshaken by life's greatest challenges? It is not because they are immune to pain or untouched by sorrow. It is because they have tapped into the source of unexplainable peace. They have learned to lay their burdens at the feet of the One who carries all things. They understand that worry changes nothing, but prayer changes everything. This peace is not reserved for the strong or the spiritually elite. It is available to all who seek it, who are willing to trade their striving for surrender. In moments of turmoil, God's peace acts as a beacon, guiding you through the darkness. It silences the lies of the enemy, who seeks to drown you in fear and doubt. It reminds you that you are not alone, that the God of peace walks with you through the valley. His presence transforms your perspective, enabling you to see not just the storm but the one who controls it. This peace doesn't erase the challenges you face, but it equips you to face them with courage and hope. This unexplainable peace is also a testimony to those around you. When others see you walking through fire yet unburned, enduring storms yet unshaken, they cannot help but wonder where your strength comes from. It becomes an opportunity to point them to the source of that peace, to declare the goodness of God in the midst of trials. Your peace becomes a light in the darkness, a living example of God's power and love. It is not always easy to embrace this peace, especially when the world demands answers and solutions. But God invites you to rest in Him, to cast your anxieties upon Him because He cares for you. The act of trusting Him, of relinquishing control, opens the door for His peace to flood your soul. It is a daily decision, a constant turning toward Him in prayer and faith, and in return He promises to guard your heart and mind, keeping you in perfect peace. God's peace is a reminder that no matter how fierce the battle, the victory is already won. It is the evidence of His presence, the assurance of His promises, and the foretaste of the eternal rest that awaits you in His kingdom. Amid the battles of life, when the weight of struggle seems unbearable and the odds feel insurmountable, there is a profound truth that must not be overlooked. God's blessings often come in the midst of these trials. It may seem paradoxical, but the very challenges that test your strength and faith are often the fertile ground where His greatest blessings are planted. These blessings are not always obvious. They don't always arrive wrapped in the bright colors of celebration. Instead, they may be subtle, hidden within the hardship, waiting to be discovered as the storm subsides. God's ways are not our ways, and His thoughts are not our thoughts. He uses the difficulties we face to draw us closer to Him, to teach us reliance on His power rather than our own. In the Bible, James writes, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance." James 1:2-3. This is not to say that we should celebrate suffering for its own sake, but to recognize that God is working within our struggles to shape us, refine us, and prepare us for blessings we could not otherwise receive. Have you ever paused in the midst of your battles to notice the small miracles along the way? Perhaps it was an unexpected act of kindness, a sudden moment of clarity, or a feeling of unexplainable strength when you needed it most. These are not coincidences, they are God's blessings, reminders that even in the midst of your trials, He is present, guiding you, sustaining you, and providing for your needs. These moments are a testament to His faithfulness, even when the path seems darkest. Consider the story of Joseph in the Old Testament. Betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, and later imprisoned on false charges, Joseph's life seemed to be a series of unrelenting battles. Yet, through every trial, God was working behind the scenes. Each challenge Joseph faced was a stepping stone toward the extraordinary blessing that awaited him, a position of power and influence that allowed him to save countless lives, including those of his own family. Joseph himself declared, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Genesis 50:20. His story reminds us that blessings often emerge not despite our battles, but because of them. In your own life, the battles you face may feel overwhelming, but they are not without purpose. God does not waste pain. He uses it to bring about growth, to deepen your faith, and to prepare you for greater blessings. Every setback, every heartache, and every disappointment can become a part of His plan to bless you. When you trust Him, even your failures and losses can be transformed into victories. What the enemy means for harm, God repurposes for good. One of the most profound blessings amid battles is the strengthening of your relationship with God. When everything else is stripped away, when the noise of the world fades, you are left with Him. It is in these moments of surrender, when you have no choice but to rely on His strength, that you come to know Him more deeply. His presence becomes your refuge, His promises your anchor, and His love your source of hope. This intimacy with God is a blessing far greater than any earthly treasure. Another blessing that often arises in the midst of battles is the development of character. Trials refine us, much like gold is refined in fire. They strip away our pride, our self-reliance, and our illusions of control, leaving us more humble, more compassionate, and more resilient. These qualities are not merely survival skills, they are gifts that enable us to fulfill God's purpose in our lives. Through your struggles, you become a vessel through which His light can shine more brightly. Moreover, the battles you face often position you to be a blessing to others. Your testimony of God's faithfulness in the midst of trials can inspire and encourage those who are walking through their own storms. Your scars become symbols of hope, proof that God's grace is sufficient, that His power is made perfect in weakness. In this way, your battles not only bless you, but also equip you to be a source of blessing to the world around you. When you shift your perspective to see blessings amid battles, you begin to understand the depth of God's love for you. He does not abandon you in your struggles, he walks with you through them, using every challenge as an opportunity to reveal his goodness and his glory. Even in the midst of pain, his hand is at work, weaving your trials into a tapestry of triumph. As you navigate the battles of life, take a moment to look for the blessings along the way. They may not always be immediately visible, but they are there, waiting to be uncovered. Trust that God is working all things together for your good, even when the road is difficult. The blessings he provides amid your battles are a testament to his faithfulness, his love, and his unshakable commitment to you. There are moments in life when your strength feels utterly depleted, when the weight of challenges bears down so heavily that you wonder how you will ever endure. It is in these moments that God reveals his greatest truth: your strength was never meant to carry you. His strength is perfected in your weakness, and through his power you can rise above circumstances that would otherwise overwhelm you. This divine strength is not only sufficient, it is limitless, unshakable, and ever-present. The Apostle Paul writes, "But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me." 2 Corinthians 12:9. These words serve as a profound reminder that human strength, no matter how great, has its limits, but God's strength knows no bounds. When you lean into him, surrendering your struggles and your inadequacies, he steps in to do what you cannot. His power fills the gaps, lifting you and sustaining you through the most difficult of battles. Think of David standing before Goliath. By all human standards, David was no match for the giant. Yet, armed with faith in God and a simple sling, he triumphed over an opponent that seemed unbeatable. David's victory was not a testament to his skill, but to God's strength working through him. In the same way, when you face obstacles that seem insurmountable, remember that it is not your own might that will see you through, but the power of the one who stands with you. This strength beyond your own is not limited to physical endurance, it also fortifies your heart and mind. It enables you to persevere when you feel like giving up, to maintain hope when despair looms, and to find courage in the face of fear. It is a strength that allows you to keep moving forward, even when every step feels impossible. God's strength is the quiet force that steadies you when the storms of life rage, holding you together when everything else threatens to fall apart. God's strength often manifests in ways that defy logic. Have you ever found yourself standing firm in a situation where you should have crumbled? Or speaking words of encouragement to others when you yourself felt depleted? These moments are not products of your own resilience, they are evidence of God's power at work within you. He equips you with what you need, not just to survive, but to thrive, even in the harshest conditions. One of the most beautiful aspects of God's strength is that it is freely given. You do not have to earn it, nor do you have to be strong on your own before you can receive it. In fact, it is in your weakest moments, when you have nothing left to give, that his strength is most evident. This is the paradox of faith, that in surrendering, you find victory. In admitting your weakness, you discover his strength. It is not a transaction, but a gift, a manifestation of his grace and his deep love for you. In the story of Gideon, God reduced Gideon's army to just 300 men before sending them into battle against a vastly larger force. By human reasoning, this was a recipe for disaster. Yet God's intention was clear. He wanted the victory to be undeniably his. When Gideon and his men triumphed, it was evident to all that the victory was not by their strength, but by God's power. This story is a reminder that God's strength is magnified in situations where human ability falls short. When the odds are against you, he steps in to demonstrate that he is greater than any challenge you face. God's strength also empowers you to fulfill his purpose for your life. The calling he places on you is often beyond your natural abilities, and that is by design. He does not call the equipped, he equips the called. When you feel inadequate or unprepared, remember that God's strength is what qualifies you. He works through your limitations to accomplish things that would be impossible on your own, ensuring that the glory belongs to Him. In the trials you face, God's strength becomes a source of testimony. When others see you enduring hardships with grace and courage, they cannot help but wonder where your strength comes from. Your reliance on God becomes a light in the darkness, pointing others to Him. Your perseverance becomes a declaration of His faithfulness, a living example of His power at work in the lives of those who trust Him. This divine strength is not reserved for moments of crisis. It is available to you every day. Whether you are facing monumental challenges or the ordinary pressures of life, God's strength is there to sustain you. It is the wellspring from which you can draw, an unending source of power that enables you to live boldly and faithfully. The key to accessing this strength lies in surrender. When you let go of the need to control everything, when you stop relying solely on your own abilities, you make room for God to move in your life. His strength is not just a backup plan, it is the foundation upon which you can stand, secure and unshaken, no matter what comes your way. God's strength is not just something He gives, it is who He is. He is your rock, your refuge, and your fortress. When you lean on Him, you are tapping into a power that cannot fail, a strength that is sufficient for every need, and a presence that will never leave you. There is an undeniable truth about God's nature. He is a God of justice. While life often seems unfair, and wrongdoing appears to go unpunished, God's justice is never absent, it simply operates on a divine timeline. His timing, though beyond human understanding, is always perfect. When you trust in Him, you can rest assured that every wrong will be made right, and every act of harm against you will face its reckoning. Justice delayed is not justice denied, it is justice in the making. In moments of pain and betrayal, it is natural to wonder why God doesn't intervene immediately. Why do the wicked seem to prosper? Why are those who harm others allowed to continue unchecked? These are questions that have echoed through the ages, from the psalmists crying out in anguish to believers wrestling with the complexities of life. Yet, throughout Scripture, God reminds us that He sees every act, hears every word, and knows every intention. Nothing escapes His notice, and nothing is beyond His reach. One of the most comforting truths is found in Romans 12:19, "Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, 'It is mine to avenge, I will repay, says the Lord.'" This verse is a call to trust in God's justice rather than seeking your own. It is an invitation to release the burden of vengeance and place it in the hands of the one who judges with perfect righteousness. God's justice is not clouded by emotion, bias, or limited perspective. It is pure, holy, and absolute. The story of Joseph offers a profound example of God's justice in action. Betrayed by his brothers and sold into slavery, Joseph endured years of suffering and injustice. Yet in God's timing, he was elevated to a position of power and influence, ultimately saving his family and countless others from famine. The very brothers who wronged him were brought to a place of humility and repentance, and Joseph's faithfulness was rewarded. This story reminds us that God's justice is not just about punishment, it is also about restoration, redemption, and the fulfillment of His purpose. God's justice is often revealed in ways that go beyond human expectations. While we might seek immediate retribution, His justice aims for something greater, transformation. He does not simply punish wrongdoers, He works to bring about repentance and change. This does not mean that He ignores evil or allows it to flourish indefinitely. Instead, He acts in ways that serve His higher purposes, ensuring that His justice brings about not just accountability, but also healing and growth. When you face injustice, it can be difficult to wait for God's timing. The desire for immediate resolution is strong, and the pain of being wronged can feel unbearable. But trusting in God's justice requires patience and faith. It means believing that He is at work, even when you cannot see it. It means remembering that His plans are greater than your own, and His ways are higher than your ways. The delays you experience are not a sign of His absence, but a testament to His perfect timing. God's justice often comes in stages. Sometimes he allows consequences to unfold naturally, revealing the harm caused by wrongdoing. Other times his justice is swift and unmistakable, a direct intervention that leaves no doubt of his power. And in some cases his justice is reserved for eternity, where every deed will be accounted for, and his ultimate judgment will prevail. Regardless of the form it takes, his justice is certain and unavoidable. While you wait for God's justice, he equips you with the grace to endure. He strengthens your heart, steadies your spirit, and reminds you of his presence. In the face of injustice, he does not leave you defenseless. Instead, he becomes your shield, your refuge, and your source of hope. His justice is not just about dealing with those who wrong you. It is also about preserving and protecting you, ensuring that their actions do not derail his plans for your life. Another aspect of God's justice is the peace it brings. When you release your need for revenge and trust in his judgment, you free yourself from the burden of anger and resentment. You allow his peace to fill the space once occupied by bitterness, enabling you to move forward with a clear heart and mind. This peace is a blessing in itself, a reminder that God's justice is not just about punishment, but about restoring harmony to your soul. Finally, God's justice serves as a testimony to his character. When he acts, it is not only for your benefit, but also for his glory. His justice is a demonstration of his holiness, his sovereignty, and his unshakable commitment to righteousness. It is a reminder to the world that he is not indifferent to wrongdoing, but actively works to bring about his perfect will. In every act of injustice you face, God is present, working behind the scenes to bring about his justice. It may not come when or how you expect, but it will come. And when it does, it will be complete, undeniable, and a reflection of his infinite love and power. Trust in his timing, for his justice is worth the wait. As we come to the end of this message, let us reflect on the undeniable truth that God is intimately involved in every detail of your life. From revealing hidden enemies to protecting you from harm, from closing doors for your benefit to granting unexplainable peace amid turmoil, and from blessing you in battles to providing strength beyond your own, his hand is ever present. Finally, his justice, in its perfect timing, assures us that no wrongdoing will go unnoticed and no suffering will be without purpose. Life is filled with challenges, but these challenges are not meant to break you. They are designed to shape you, refine you, and draw you closer to the God who loves you more deeply than you can comprehend. In every struggle, he is with you. In every trial, he is for you. And in every victory, his glory shines through. Take heart in knowing that you are not walking this journey alone. The God who created the heavens and the earth is guiding your steps, surrounding you with his love, and empowering you to face whatever comes your way. Trust him in the valleys, praise him on the mountaintops, and hold tightly to his promises, for he is faithful. As you leave today with these truths, carry them into your life, and let them be a source of strength and encouragement. Remember that your story is not over, and the battles you face today will one day become the testimonies that inspire others. Stay strong, trust him, and keep your eyes fixed on his purpose for your life. May God bless you abundantly and guide you in every step you take. Thank you for listening, and may his peace and strength fill your heart as you move forward. Until next time, keep your faith strong, and remember that with God all things are possible.